Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be bringing you all the strategy that I use for clearing floor 6 of Memory of Chaos, as I know most of you guys might be stuck on this stage because you don't have Japart or Bailu. And a big disclaimer before we start. So this video is mainly will be using only 4-star character, meaning that we are not aiming to 3-star the chamber. So DPS is not a concern here. We are just going to clear it slowly, and what we aim for is just 1-star clear with no character die. And also assuming that you are a free-to-play watching my video here, so that you don't have most of the 5-star units. Okay, so let us get started. So first of all, during the team composition here, I'll be breaking down into 3 categories of characters. One is must-have, second one is highly recommended, and the third one is filler. So for the first half here, we have a Bronya, and this Bronya can change because I remember in CBT3 it was a Japart as the final boss here. But the second wave is always this Silverman, this guy here, and there's 2 of them. So only the last boss change here. So for the must-have unit on the first half is the Fire MC and the healer, which is Natasha here. So why is these 2 a must-have? Is because during the second phase here, these guys, they are going to do counter stance, which is going to do very heavy single target damage to your teammate who attack them. And also if they by the end of their turn, when their next turn is coming up, if he received no attack, he will just pop that counter attack on any of your random units. Meaning that if it pop on your DPS, it might most likely one-shot your DPS, if not heavily injured. So that's why having Fire MC here for the taunt and also damage reduction to absorb that single target damage is very important. And also because Fire MC is absorbing a lot of fire attack from enemy, you need a healer to support your Fire MC back up. So that's why these 2 are must-have unit in the first half here. And then Su Shang is a highly recommended unit for the first half because all the boss here, they are weak against physical. So a physical DPS is very highly recommended to be your main carry in the top half. And Su Shang is the only physical DPS that we have for 4-star right now currently, besides the physical MC, but we are not using the physical MC because we need the fire version instead. And the last role is a filler. You can use anyone you like that you are not using on the second team, and also you have a build up. And in my case, I'll be using Qingque because the second wave, they are weak against Quantum. And Qingque is, I have her pretty nicely built, so she can help out with a lot of AoE damage. Next, second half, we have both boss weak against Ice and Lightning. So the must-have unit for second half is March 7 and Pella. Now, March 7 is very self-explanatory. She is your only free shielder besides of your healer Natasha, who can keep your team survive. And she is free and she's very strong. So she's here to keep your team survive. And Pella, why you need Pella is because you want to dispel the buff that this fire robot guy, the Serum Prowler, yeah, you want to dispel the buff that he applied to himself, because if he has the buff and keep it on, it is very dangerous. He can increase his speed by 120% attack. That's a huge buff. And Pella is here to dispel that whenever the boss apply the buff on themselves to keep your team able to survive the hit. Okay, and then next up we have Servo, which is a highly recommended unit here as for free to play, and mainly because she is an AoE DPS carry who can help you break the enemy gauge, both boss, and also deal a decent amount of damage to help as the only carry here. Okay, and then the last role is a filler role. Filler role, you can have anyone like, for example, Ting Yun or Herta or Arlen, depending on who you have built. Now this one is just a filler role, basically just whoever can break and help you break, and actually you have them build up, so it can help you with some sort of damage or buffing. So in my case, I'll be using Ting Yun here because she is my most built lightning character outside of Servo. Now tip number 2 is for the second half here. Oh sorry, It's for both sides, for team composition, the team positioning, they matter as well. So for the first half, when you have a fire MC in your team, first of all, you always want to put your fire MC on the edge of the team, either at the most left or the most right, because whenever there is a blast attack coming and targeting your fire MC who is taunting the enemy, if you're putting them on the side here, the blast attack is going to only hit the unit on your right side, but there's no unit on your left side, meaning that you have one less unit absorbing the hit from the blast attack. So that's why you always want to put the fire MC at the edge of the team. And then who want to be the next to her is whoever is the most tankiest in your team to absorb that extra damage from blast attack. In this case, it's going to be my healer, Natasha here. So that's why Natasha is next to my fire MC. And then the third and the fourth row, they really don't matter much. But if you have someone who is not a DPS unit, so for example, my fielder role is someone like, for example, Asta here, a support harmony unit. So if this is the case, you want to put your DPS in the middle, the third slot here, because a DPS unit, for example, the hunt path or the what is that called? The AOE, but the erudition path. So these two DPS paths, they have the least taunt stats. So meaning they will have the least chance to get target as attack. And if the blast attack targeted my middle row here, they would do damage to all 3 units because of blast attack. So you want that to happen the least amount of time, meaning that you want to put the least aggro taunt stats character into the middle, which is my DPS role here. And a harmony character, they have more taunt stats than a DPS unit, and that's why I'm putting Asta, the support role, at the other side of the edge of the map here, so that in case if they choose either one of these 2 units, they will choose Asta more often, and meaning that I will absorb less hate from this. But because I'm using Qingque here, it doesn't really matter because they both have the same taunt stat. Now moving on to the second half, this one is very important and it's very crucial because you don't have any heals, right? So what I do in the second half here for the team positioning here is I put the team like this. Now let me explain why. Normally, so out here, March 7, even though she has the highest taunt stats because she's a Preservation Path character and the Preservation Path has the highest taunt, but I'm not putting her at the edge, unlike the Fire MC, because I am going to use the shield from March 7 onto Pella and Ting Yun respectively, so that they can take the aggro, because March 7, her shield, can increase aggro when they have a shield and they have more than 30% health. So this is very important here, because in that case, once I put up the shield on these 2 units on the left side here, and when the enemy is going to do blast attack on them, then I will have a chance to take the hit from Pella, which means no unit on the left side, so I'm safe. And also Ting Yun, who is also covered with shield, so she can absorb a lot of blast attack damage as well, just by standing next to Pella. But if the enemy choose to attack Ting Yun instead, I will have all 3 units taking the hits, right? Pella has a shield, she's fine. Ting Yun has a shield, she is fine also. But for March 7, I used to shield her as well, but I realized there is a problem with that strategy. Is that my March 7 is having the highest aggro if I shield my March 7 and having all 3 units shielded. So that means the enemy will most likely attack my March 7 instead of the other 2 units on the left side. And my server, who is not being covered with a shield, will take the hit from the blast attack and most likely die at the right side. So that's why with a new strategy that I come up with right now, I do not shield March 7 at all for the entire fight. I only shield Pella and Ting Yun so that they will have the highest chance to join the aggro, and my March 7 is having a much lower chance of joining the aggro. And not to mention the server has even less chance because she is a DPS unit and she don't get the shield. Now you might be wondering, okay, so in that case, I can protect my server without problem. but my module 7 will most likely die from blast attack, suffering from blast attack because she don't have any shield, right? So how do I solve that problem? Well, as a free-to-play, you get this weapon, 3-star weapon, which heals you 30% from max HP whenever you use your ultimate. And this weapon on March 7 as a free-to-play weapon is a very, very nice weapon, because now she can self-heal, self-sustain to a point where she no longer needs a shield or a healer, and she can take some sort of the blast attack damage absorbed from Tianyun, so that you can save up 1 skill point, you don't have to shield yourself, and you can protect your servo or whoever your DPS unit at the right side more efficiently than compared to shielding the unit slot 1, 2, 3 respectively. Now you just need to shield it 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and repeat. Okay, so that is the tip number 2. Now I'm going to go into the battle here, and I'm going to skip most of the part that don't really matter, so to save your time, and only show you the important part. So I'll be right back. Okay, here we have both boss in the second wave put up a counter stance where anyone attack them, they will do a counter attack, a very heavy single target attack on your unit, and they can most likely one-shot your DPS if you are the one attack them. And even if you don't attack them, when their next turns come up, they will just attack one of your random ally with that counter stance attack. So there is still a chance that they can attack your target, your DPS, and one-shot your DPS. So how can you survive this? Well, normally with Fire MC, you want to put up a taunt with your skill, so you can taunt all the enemy, and hoping that your Fire MC is strong enough to survive the hit, which usually they should be. However, there is a bad thing about this strategy, is that by putting up a taunt, she will taunt all 5 enemy, right? That means it's possible that all 5 enemy focus fire on your Fire MC, and they can still one-shot your Fire MC from full health with that case. And especially if you don't have your healer Natasha ultimate ready, then you cannot heal during the enemy's turn, and your Fire MC can still die from that. So the best way to deal with this situation is having your Natasha to pop one of your counter first, and then let your Fire MC to taunt the rest of the enemy to absorb the rest of the hit, so that it's basically a sharing the burden. And because your Natasha, usually you're building with your HP, so she should have enough HP to survive just one counter hit with no problem, as I'm showing here. And she will attack my Natasha here, only took me about half the HP, so you can see I will be die if I take 2 hits instead. And now I am going to use my Fire MC skill to taunt all the enemy. Okay, and just in case if the taunt was resisted by the boss here. So let's say for example this boss, they resist the taunt and there's no taunt. What else you can do is tip number 3. You can, after you put up the taunt, so you get the damage reduction from your Fire MC skill here. Where is it? The damage reduction here. Okay, after you have a damage reduction here, you pop your Fire MC ultimate, which you should be saving for this moment. Okay, so you will have an AoE attack all of them, and then you can actively trigger one of the counter stance and to let them attack on you even though they did not get the taunt. So you can guarantee pop this. And you only use this ultimate after your Natasha pop one of the counter first, because if you use that while both boss are having the counter stance, they will both counter on your Fire MC at the same time, and your Fire MC could die from that. Or if not, they can also die from the minion follow-up attack. Okay, so that is the main strategy for Wave 2 in the first half of Memory of Chaos, Floor 6. And the rest is very simple. You just basically kill the enemy slowly, and you focus on the boss. You don't care about the minion, because even you kill the minion, they will keep summoning the minion back non-stop. You just have to kill the boss, and once the boss is dead, the minion will also die together with them. Okay, now we're coming up to the Wave 3. Wave 3, you want to focus down the 2 minion here first, because they can do blast attack damage, and they hurt a lot. So I'll be dumping everything I have onto the minion, trying to kill them as fast as possible with my Susam. and trying to break them so they can take a huge chunk of damage from breaking. Okay? I'm gonna... Unfortunately, my Natasha is missing like so little energy. 1 energy, wow. Okay. And here at the first Fire MC turn, you want to put up a taunt because Bronya will always do 2 single target hit onto one of your character, and that hurts if they will target one of your DPS. So you want to always put up a taunt here so that Bronya will attack your Fire MC instead. As you can see here, I took a lot of damage even as I tank. Now Bronya is going to summon 2 more minions. After 2 turns, you've previously killed both minions at the side here, and you have 2 options here. One, you can kill both minions first to minimize the damage you take, and then also you are able to break Bronya, so you can do massive amount of break damage. Or second, if your DPS is strong enough, then you can actually go straight to trying to take down Bronya herself without worrying the minion here, because these 2 minions, they don't do as much damage as the first 2 gunners that you healed. And these 2 minions, with a proper healer, you should be able to survive the hit. But the downside of this is that you are unable to break Bronya. So if you are someone like me, who is heavily reliant on break damage from Susan instead of direct damage, then you should be killing the minion first. So yeah, pretty much that's about it for the first half. Nothing really much to say, because wave 3, I honestly feel wave 3 is much easier compared to wave 2 in the first half here. Wave 2 is the real challenge. So let's move on to the second half. Okay, here we are in the second half, wave 1. So I begin with several technique so that I instantly break all of them at the same time. So I have the advantage here. And also my servo, she is building some sort of break effect so that her break damage is quite nice to help out with the lack of DPS here. So first things first, I want to use my Tingyun ult immediately onto servo so that my servo, my main DPS here, can get the ultimate ready and also buff her with a skill so that she can try to clear this wave 1 as fast as possible. And the next tip, very important, once your March 7 turn is up, you want to start shielding your Pella and Tingyun respectively first, as soon as possible, so that by the time you enter wave 2, you are able to have the shield up already to put up the taunt, so you can minimize the damage received from your servo, the main DPS here, or anyone else. And I usually do it in the most left side first, and then move on to the middle, and then back to the left side, and move on to the middle, in this order. Okay, moving on to wave 2 here. Now, wave 2, once you have properly shielded your Pella and Tingyun, you don't have to shield your March 7. So you're just gonna make sure that they have a healthy shield, and also the turn remaining here is not 1 turn left. And in that case, you will have to refresh the shield with your March 7 every time you see your shield is being too low health or is about to expire. And here you can see my Pella is being locked on as the next heavy single target hit. If she don't have a shield, then the boss is going to do a follow-up attack of the Felden Order if they attack someone who don't have a shield. That's why it's very important for your March 7 to put up a shield on whoever get locked on. If the lock was not on Pella or Tingyun, let's say if the lock was on my March 7 or at the DPS here, they don't have a shield, right? So in that case, you still want to put up your March 7 shield on them, even though normally you don't want to put a shield. But in that case, you want to put a shield on the targeted, on the lock on target, so that the boss will not do a follow-up attack of Felden Order on a random character of yours, and that's a lot of extra damage that you will receive. So here I am going to put up my shield on Pella because she's the one being locked on, and also her shield is gone. And now you can see my shield is successfully saved her from taking a lot of damage. And again, whenever it's my March 7 turn, I always check who has the least health of the shield or who has the least turns that is remaining. So I can see right now I have my Tingyun has 2 turns remain, Pella has 3 turns, but Pella's shield is much less than Tingyun here. So I want to refresh my Pella shield in this case. And here a great example to show you that after my March 7 ultimate is ready, and she took some hate earlier, even for not having a shield. I can use my March 7 ultimate here, and you can see I instantly heal myself back up. This is very nice self-sustain. And here we have my servo being locked on by the boss. Even though I was able to break him before he launched his big attack, he will still do the attack once he come back up. So that's why in this case, instead of shielding my Tingyun, whose shield is completely gone, I want to actually shield my servo here, so that she will not take that big chunk of single target hits from the boss. And also, the boss will launch a follow attack if he attacks someone who does not have a shield. And that is a big damage here. And yeah, pretty much that's it for the wave 2 here. And I will see you later in the wave 3. Okay, moving on to wave 3. Wave 3 is the real challenge here without a healer. And again, you want to keep your Pella and Tingyun well shielded at all time. And especially in wave 3, because they will do a lot of blast and AoE attack throughout the fight. And there are two main strategies here to use, depending on your team composition and as well as how well invested is your DPS. One, if you have a very good DPS, like let's say Jin Yuan, then in that case, you can focus down one of the two boss, trying to kill one of the two boss as fast as possible, so you can minimize the damage received from not having a healer. Now, if you don't have a strong DPS like me right now, the second strategy is that focused on breaking bars instead of dealing damage. So as you can see here, it is my servo's turn, and I focus down on the left side boss first. So he has a 3 bar left, and because I am using my blast attack here, and he will do 2 bar, and he has 1 bar still. So he has 3 bar left. However, because I have my ultimate ready, and my main strategy is focus on breaking weakness on both boss as much as possible. So if I'm doing my blast attack on the left boss plus an ultimate here, that's 2 plus 2 equal 4 bar, and that's 1 extra bar on the left side wasted. So I don't want to do that. So that's why I'm going to target my right side boss for the blast attack instead. So the left side one will only take 1 bar of the weakness damage, and then change into my ultimate, which is going to do 2 bar on both enemy, so that nothing will go wasted. And you have to plan this out very carefully, so that you don't really miss any of the break bar. And also I am saving my March 7 ultimate here, because the left side boss is already break, and I don't want to waste any of my ultimate on just doing damage. I want to use them to break bar instead, so that they can help me to survive as long as possible. Now, let's take a look over here. My Pella has 2k shield and 3 turns left, and my Tingyun has 700 shield with 2 turns left. So normally you would think that I should be refreshing my Tingyun shield with my March 7, correct? But in this specific case, my servo just took a hit from blast attack, and that's why she is very low health. I want to shield my servo instead refreshing Tingyun here, so that my main DPS servo, she will not die if she get hit again by a blast attack. And because right now she is under 30% health, even though I put a shield on her, she will not get the aggro effect from March 7 shield, because it will only draw aggro when you have 30% or higher health. So that's why I'm safe to put a shield on her. Okay, now here both boss have a mania buff on them, which increases the attack by 20% and speed by 100 points. This is an insane boost, and that's why you want to use your Pella skill, save up your skill point for that, to dispel the boss buff. However, Pella's skill is only a single target. She cannot dispel both at the same time. So what can you do? You have to break one boss bar, because by the time you break it, they will also remove the buff that they have here. So I'm going to break the left side boss first, because he has the least amount of weakness bar, and then I'm going to save up my skill point for my Pella to dispel the buff on my right side boss here, so that I can remove both the buff from both boss at the same time. And that's why I've been saving all these AoE ultimate for this point, so I can break the boss as fast as possible. And here the left side boss is already break, and again for my March 7 I'm going to keep shielding, refreshing the shield for Tingyun and Pella. And because now my servo is very low HP, I have to refresh her shield as well whenever it's going to expire. but I'm not going to shield March 7 at all because her ultimate can self-heal. And here I'm going to use my Pella skill to dispel this so that I can remove this heavy attack on the boss. So yeah, that's pretty much all the tips I can give you for Memory of Chaos Floor 6. With all these tips, you should be able to clear even just 1 star with no one die, and you don't really have to worry about the timer here because you don't really have much DPS to clear within this amount of cycles early on, and only with 4-star units as well. And in the end here, I will just quickly show you all the gears and stats I used for these 8 characters that I used to clear Floor 6 of Memory of Chaos. And as you can see, all of them except Fire MC have Eidolon 0, with only my Fire MC have Eidolon 5 because you can get them for free. And my light cones, some of them are even using 3-star light cones instead, because I am trying to use all the free-to-play available light cones that you can get from either playing the game or the 3-star one, which is pretty much free. And you can see the relics here, a lot of them are 5-star, but I still use some of the 4-star one for my supports. And the relics are only +9 or +12, so they are pretty average gear, I would say, in order to clear this. So if you like this video, or you want to see more breakdown video like this one for other floors in Memory of Chaos, please let me know in the comment section below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.